confrontation occurs where someone demands the return of something found. The item in question is not something that can be easily returned, suggesting conflict over a valuable discovery. The protagonist recalls their mother's guidance: help those in trouble, care for friends, consider others' feelings, stay organized, learn well, and most importantly, judge right from wrong independently. These principles appear to guide their actions throughout their journey. The perfect location for an atelier is discovered, an abandoned house once used by an alchemist. The protagonist, Yumia, is exploring this area when reminded by someone that while they should prepare, their primary role is as the key to the Aladiss investigation team while also being under supervision. Yumia is introduced to Victor von Dürer, a knight from Ustera tasked with supervising the alchemist. Victor reminds that alchemy is a forbidden art, permissible only for investigation purposes. His sister, Ira von Dürer, joins them with a more friendly approach, creating a contrast in supervision styles. The group arrives at the abandoned house that Yumia decides will become their atelier. This location appears to predate the Great Aladiss disaster. Victor seems concerned about potential taboos, while Ira offers help with preparations, showing a more supportive attitude toward Yumia's work. Yumia begins establishing the atelier, explaining that alchemy requires separating materials based on their mana content. The team works together to create storage and furniture, understanding that building a proper base is essential for the investigation team's success. Yumia introduces Flamey, an ultra-high-performance search assistant capable of speech, though clarifies it wasn't created from scratch. This demonstration shows Yumia's practical skills beyond pure alchemy, establishing trust with the team by creating useful tools. Yumia demonstrates true alchemy, explaining that alchemists directly manipulate mana, the memories and feelings of life return to the ground. The movements of their body help control this manipulation as they create recipes from these memories and rebuild matter using materials. The team returns to their leader to report their progress. There is evident curiosity and wariness from others about Yumia's role as an alchemist. The mission faces a new urgency when they learn their base was attacked by demons, necessitating immediate action to prevent further damage. A group is debating priorities between defeating demons and rescuing injured people. They cannot handle both missions separately and must choose one. The group discusses the merits of each approach, with some arguing for attacking the demon base to prevent further damage, while others suggest rescuing the injured first to regroup their forces. Someone identified as an alchemist named Yumia Liessfeldt shares her opinion about rescuing the injured. Victor is instructed to prioritize fighting demons and prevent Yumia from doing anything unnecessary. There appears to be some reluctance to use alchemy, with someone referring to Yumia as kinky and considering it shameful for Ustera to rely on such methods. As darkness falls, Victor arrives with Yumia, who introduces herself as an alchemist prepared to fight. Despite Yumia's eagerness to help, she is told not to interfere. Victor explains that while his mission is to protect her, he must rely on his own strength at the front line. They engage in battle, focusing on larger demons rather than smaller ones. After the battle concludes, others notice Yumia used strange tools created through alchemy. Victor is warned not to trust her too much. Yumia later explains she taught herself to fight over the past 3 years, since deciding to join the investigation team, not wanting to be a burden and believing her alchemical skills could help everyone. Ira reports that the monsters they encountered were behaving strangely. Experienced adventurers sustained unusual amounts of damage, suggesting something abnormal about these creatures. The leader has received this report, and they plan to continue investigating to discover more about these monsters. Meanwhile, someone comments that Yumia's abilities aren't impressive. Upon returning, Yumia is criticized for overstepping her position and using alchemy when she wasn't supposed to. An explosion apparently caused by alchemy has resulted in people losing their homes. Yumia offers to take responsibility for these actions. Despite this tension, someone later reassures Yumia that she's not a bad person and thanks her for her help. After completing their mission, the team is assigned to their next task. Yumia is specifically called to join the investigation team because she possesses unique abilities that only she can perform. She follows the leader to learn about this special assignment that requires her particular skills. The team enters a high-density Manna area where concentrated magical energy from the memories of the deceased causes negative effects on humans, including headaches, dizziness, and unconsciousness. This has prevented thorough investigation of the area for years. Yumia presents an energy core that can protect against these effects by deploying a protective membrane. Yumia is assigned to visit the Duck's lighthouse within the Manna domain. She discovered a major mana path connecting an atelier to the lighthouse. The abnormal flow of mana around Aladiss could potentially be corrected if Yumia can manipulate the mana like her mother once did. This mission is precisely why she joined the investigation team despite the risks. Determined not to fail this crucial mission, Yumia prepares by gathering equipment and materials for creating new alchemical tools. She collects resources including mana battle and spots where mana overflows from the ground. These materials will guide her in crafting tools through the memories engraved in the mana, expanding her capabilities to help the team. A group, including Yumia and Ira, embarks on a mission. Someone mentions not wanting to shoot a gun, implying they have a more powerful tool at their disposal. The energy core appears to be functioning properly, but they're advised to depart quickly as mana energy is depleting. They need to follow their planned operation with limited resources. The team discovers a pedestal that appears to be part of a broken circulator, damaged during a major disaster. It's explained that mana would normally circulate naturally through the ground, but due to the disaster, it now accumulates instead. This pedestal represents evidence of the catastrophic event that affected Aladiss. Yumia admits to only knowing the outline of the pedestal's function, unsure if this knowledge would work on Aladiss. With guidance from someone named Flamey, Yumia attempts to restore proper mana flow through the pedestal, effectively replacing the function of the broken device to allow mana to circulate correctly again. A boss congratulates the team on their success. Previously, investigators were blocked by mana accumulation and couldn't approach the lighthouse, but now the path is clear. This represents a significant advancement for the investigation team's mission. The boss expresses gratitude and mentions counting on them for future operations. Some team members express concern about whether the mana clearance is permanent or if problems might suddenly return. When asked what was done, Yumia explains having fixed the flow of accumulated mana to circulate properly, describing it as making the mana feel good to flow correctly. This alchemical manipulation demonstrates Yumia's valuable power. The team recognizes that Yumia's alchemical abilities are crucial for discovering the truth behind Aladiss's destruction and exploring unknown continents. Yumia is instructed to use these powers correctly as they continue their mission, with the understanding that the land is now open for further exploration. The newly cleared area would serve well as a research base. The investigation team's mission includes destroying mana domains, securing safe land, and expanding their search scope. Their ultimate goal is investigating all of Aladiss, and establishing convenient bases will help expedite this process. Yumia, who claims to be skilled at construction, quickly establishes a base that will serve as a starting point for further investigation. The team returns to discuss their next steps, which involve development missions laid out in a detailed plan. They can begin with easier tasks while remaining open to new discoveries. A cultural anthropologist named Wilma Lutter requests assistance investigating a village where spirits allegedly reside. She explains Hujushin Shinko, a faith culture involving worship of mana and land spirits. Her family from the end of the Aladissian Empire had limited knowledge of this culture, prompting her current research. The team agrees to help investigate, believing Yumia's alchemical abilities might uncover vital clues. They decide to explore nearby abandoned structures, including houses with broken entrances and a collapsed tower by the river that might contain undiscovered information about the spirit village. During their investigation, they discover information suggesting voices coming from underground, potentially linked to spirits. Though initially skeptical, they consider this might lead to the village they're seeking. They decide to investigate on-site, navigating with caution due to limited energy reserves. The team successfully retrieves and records information from their exploration. Upon returning, they meet Licht, an information specialist who believes the village might be near Chiteko. Despite finding little concrete evidence, the voices heard from behind Chiteko remain unexplained and potentially significant. The investigation leaders emphasize that many areas of the Aladiss continent remain unexplored, particularly in the Lignus region. They cannot dismiss any possibilities yet. The connection between reported voices in Chiteko and spirit rumors warrants further investigation, suggesting a village might be accessible through an undiscovered route. The initial development of the surrounding area and establishment of the investigation team have been completed, but further work remains. The team needs to expand their investigation scope while developing the area. According to Flamey's mother, circulators similar to the one in the lighthouse were installed on mana paths in Aladiss to manage mana circulation. The team has identified mana paths extending north and east from the lighthouse. The team discusses whether to prioritize the northern or eastern route. The northern route through Marugojikai offers efficiency, while the eastern route allows for more thorough investigation. The captain leaves the decision to the team members, who debate the options before agreeing that the final choice should rest with the person who has the power to break the mana domain. The team explores a location identified as Arbol Botanical Garden. Following the flow of mana, they search for and successfully find a pedestal. After scanning and recording information, they activate the energy core despite warnings to leave quickly. They continue following the mana flow northward while dealing with numerous monsters in the area. While investigating the forest, team members experience strange sensations. They discover that 2 team members from Duralio have a personal connection to their mission. 3 years ago, these members witnessed a winged monster cause an explosion in Duralio that killed many people. They're seeking revenge against this creature, which appears connected to alchemy and mana disasters. After completing their investigation of the eastern side, the team reports back. It's revealed that the monster they're hunting attacked someone's territory 3 years ago. Victor strategically paired team members based on their similar ages and circumstances, hoping to foster emotional connections among them. The investigation has successfully cleared high-density mana areas. The team receives news that investigators have discovered an abandoned research site where alchemists once worked. They're tasked with exploring the Margot Central Observation Facility, hoping to find important clues in the ruins. This represents the first major ruins discovered in the Lignus region and could contain valuable records related to the Empire's destruction. The team works through the facility, carefully managing their energy reserves while scanning and recording findings. They confirm that the mana flow from the lighthouse stagnates in this area, with paths only connecting to the north. Though initially concerned, they may have wasted effort. They're assured that clearing the mana area is itself a significant achievement. The exploration of ruins begins with attempts to access a locked container. After managing to open it, a transceiver from the old civilization is discovered. This device appears capable of recording significant amounts of information, possibly containing valuable historical data from the era when alchemy was practiced freely. The transceiver reveals a recording from ancient times. It contains conversations between local inhabitants and alchemists who arrived from the east. The locals express gratitude for a great harvest and mention collaboration on developing new species through alchemy. This indicates a time when alchemy coexisted peacefully with society, rather than being forbidden as it is now. The exploration team enters ruins where they encounter Lutger, a member of another investigation team who arrived earlier. The ruins appear to have been picked clean, with no dust on shelves suggesting recent activity. Despite this, the team continues searching for materials that might benefit their village. During a break, Yumia reveals why she became an alchemist despite it being taboo. Her mother was an alchemist who ran a tool shop with her. During a Manna disaster in Duralian, her mother sacrificed herself by entering a Manna domain to save everyone. She left behind a broken device that Yumia restored. It turned out to be Flamey. Yumia explains that she wants to discover the truth about what happened on the continent, why alchemy became forbidden, and whether her mother was truly a villain. Ira suggests that Yumia's mother might actually have been a savior. The investigation team's goal aligns with Yumia's, to uncover the truth about the past. The team returns to their base, where they meet Ruto, an experienced adventurer working with Mr. Earhart. Ruto had been exploring alone and recovered a valuable transmitter from the ruins. Earhart asks Yumia to examine it, recognizing her expertise with ancient technology. The transmitter contains technical research materials from alchemists who settled in the region. Yumia requests to borrow it for further examination. Ruto suggests they investigate together for efficiency, but his attitude causes tension within the group. Mr. Earhart intervenes, attempting to smooth over the conflict. At the beginning of the conversation, a request is made to demonstrate alchemy. The speaker agrees to show alchemy, but emphasizes the importance of mutual understanding between partners. They acknowledge the other person's experience as an adventurer while expressing surprise at their lack of fear regarding alchemy. An invitation is extended to visit the atelier to demonstrate alchemy properly. A discussion ensues about the investigation progress, highlighting how Yumia's alchemy has been crucial to moving forward. Victor, who appears to be a knight, displays firmness in his position. Both individuals acknowledge the difficult situation they face. Despite initial concerns about alchemy users, the knight recognizes that Yumia's abilities are indispensable to the investigation. The conversation shifts to personal assessment. The knight appreciates that jokes can be made despite the serious situation and expresses admiration for the clear determination visible when alchemy is used. This attitude is noted to be impressive, and the knight is characterized as a serious person. The scene moves to the Alchemy Atelier, which is described as resembling a junkyard. The alchemist begins crafting a weapon for Ludogawa and sets ground rules about not touching or breaking tools and materials, noting they appear valuable and unauthorized handling will be reported to the boss. Attention turns to a mysterious locked room in the atelier that has remained unopened since the alchemist first arrived. Despite attempts to push or pull the door, it won't budge. The room might contain something significant to the original owner of the atelier, possibly treasures kept in a sturdy safe. The alchemist is working on repairing a transmitter called Flamey that hasn't fully recovered. This device holds significance, connected to the alchemist's mother's memory, and might contain valuable information. The alchemist clarifies that while this research serves personal interests, care will be taken not to go too far. After completing the weapon, which has a unique design, the group discusses their next steps. They plan to head north of the Arbol Botanical Garden, following the direction of Manna's path and disappearance. A large tree will serve as their guide, though approaching it presents challenges due to rock walls and tree roots. The group encounters children who seem unaffected by the Manna domain. They seek information about reaching a large tree, Taiju, and offer to repair a broken fence in the village in exchange for guidance. Working together on this task brings satisfaction in being useful to others. Faced with the challenge of the massive tree blocking their path, The alchemist proposes a solution using special seeds. Despite initial skepticism, the alchemist successfully manipulates the tree roots, clearing a path forward. The group prepares to continue their journey toward what appears to be a monster extermination mission. As they proceed, there's a sense of foreboding. They encounter a mysterious figure who identifies himself as Vespine, apparently responsible for attacking territory and causing a Manna earthquake. A confrontation ensues between Victor, who introduces himself as a member of the Ystera Knights, and this formidable opponent who displays considerable power. After an intense battle, the group is rescued by additional members of their investigation team. One member, named Manna, thanks Ludgar for his timely intervention. The group discusses the surprising nature of the monster they encountered, noting its ability to speak and the danger it presented. They decide to address the high-level Manna issue before proceeding further. An investigation team discusses a mysterious person related to alchemy and an energy core tool. They plan to search the area for clues after their break. One member mentions being saved by Nina during what they describe as a terrible meeting. They discover a transceiver that, despite being damaged, contains readable information about chaos in the east, potentially related to Aradeshi's capital and a mysterious facility. The team decides to return to base to report their findings. Nina chooses to stay behind to investigate further, mentioning she has orders as a special agent. This creates some tension as another team member feels this shows a difference in trust. They part ways, with Nina continuing her investigation while the others head back to base. Upon returning to base, team members Utagawa and another person are recruited by Mr. Earhart to help defeat a monster nearby. Despite one member having other plans, they agree to join the mission. Meanwhile, information about something called Vesper is shared with the investigation team, as it represents a threat requiring further examination. The team leader expresses pride in the junior members who have successfully cleared a high-density Manna area, allowing everyone to move forward safely. Their ultimate destination is revealed to be the capital of Aladiss in the east. The journey is described as long, but progressing steadily through Ignis's Tuha. A team member reflects on their experience dealing with the high-density Manna area, expressing relief, but acknowledging they still have much to learn. The investigation is described as just beginning, with plans to explore the Shibashu area next. The team emphasizes the importance of both combat experience and rest. Workers thank the team for clearing the Manna area, allowing them to access the site. During exploration, the team encounters Werax, a race with tails and animal-like ears. This surprising encounter raises questions about how humans came to be in this isolated area. The team explains they're from the Republic of Ystera, searching for the missing Araris. The Werax inform the team that their village lies ahead and won't allow strangers to pass without permission from their leader, Crage. The team agrees to meet with Crage, promising no harm to the Werax. They're escorted to the village, where locals gather to observe these unusual visitors with suspicion and curiosity. The team meets Osano Kleja, the Siluazoku leader, who questions their purpose. They explain they're investigating the extinction mystery and aiming for the capital, the source of a great disaster. To prove their abilities, they demonstrate how they neutralize Manna areas, impressing Kleja, who wants to meet the investigation team's leader. Erhard Bormann, the team leader, arrives to discuss the situation with Kleja. They decide to continue their conversation elsewhere with fewer people. Kleja mentions needing to include a key person in their discussions and asks the team to retrieve this individual. Despite some hesitation, team members agree to go to the meeting place. A discussion about someone called Vespert is occurring, with concerns that he didn't consider the group a threat. There appears to be insufficient information to track him down, and the participants are advised not to rush their investigation. A conversation reveals that Yumia is an alchemist which is considered outdated in modern times and not commonly used in Ystera. The speaker mentions that Yumia's mother seemed knowledgeable about alchemy and suggests it may be related to Aladiss. Yumea is warned not to reveal his identity as an alchemist in Velx, as the tribe follows an ancient rule prohibiting alchemy. Revealing this identity could cause significant conflict with the villagers, though Yumia's ability to counter gold that's been eroding the village could be beneficial. The leader explains they're making a pragmatic choice to work with Yumea despite the prohibition on alchemy. An arrangement is made. Yumea will keep his identity secret while the leader will facilitate the investigation. Both parties recognize the mutual benefits of cooperation. The investigation team discusses policy moving forward. They must avoid friction with Welks while helping improve village life. Rana will serve as an intermediary between the investigation team and the Welks. Yumea expresses desire to learn more about the Welks' history. The group prepares to begin investigating in earnest, with a development plan established. They plan to speak with villagers and begin working immediately. However, the conversation is interrupted by a warning about dangerous monsters called Neru near the village. The investigators encounter hostility from locals, but offer to help with monster suppression. While they're prohibited from entering the main shrine of the Shirua clan, they're allowed to assist with cleaning another shrine, demonstrating their good intentions. The investigators help defend against monsters called Silvers. The Welks express gratitude and offer to return the favor, explaining this reciprocity is part of their culture and pride. They invite the investigators to learn more about the Welks. A Welk explains that alchemy is forbidden because it brought disaster to their land. The Welks themselves were born from alchemy, which developed beyond human knowledge and threatened humanity itself. As atonement, they abandoned all alchemy-related technology. The leader shares privileged information about the Welks' history. They traditionally worshipped Manna at the Great Sacred Hall. A revelation follows that among the Welks' worshippers, someone developed miraculous techniques that transcended normal magic, including creating what was described as a small golden sun. The discovery of a light that worked even during rain revolutionized life in Aladiss. This advancement illuminated towns continuously, effectively eliminating night. New tools rapidly emerged and spread throughout the region. The emperor of what was then a small country viewed this power as a beacon of hope. As time progressed, Welks' responsibilities were divided and research to strengthen the nation advanced. This evolution eventually manifested as a new magical discipline called alchemy. Even spiritual ascetics adopted this name. This marks the true origins of alchemy, knowledge typically concealed from ordinary citizens. The fundamental philosophy regarding alchemy became restrictive. Don't engage with it, don't seek to understand it, and don't repeat the great disaster of the past. The truth was shared only with those who needed to know the right path forward. The conflict between the village and the Neru clan centers around Alstaria, a flower that absorbs surrounding manna and converts it into honey with energy properties. This honey allows temporary protection from the harmful effects of gold and is essential for survival. Both groups depend on this limited resource, creating ongoing tensions. The honey isn't merely useful for navigating gold-affected areas, but is as vital as water for survival. Even if the mana domain disappeared, their conflict wouldn't simply end because of accumulated emotional history. These memories of conflict persist despite logical solutions, suggesting the struggle might continue until one side is destroyed. During a cleanup operation, valuable items including gold were discovered among what appeared to be trash. Ludger, known for privately collecting valuable finds, showed interest in these items. A broken device called Procera was found, appearing to be some kind of seat with a wheel, possibly a vehicle. Ymir offered to repair the Procera by replacing parts of its power unit. The original device came from Heilmeyer Academy. After obtaining permission, Preparations began for establishing a base to continue investigating the Shibashu region. Mir, with Flamey's assistance, successfully restored the Procera despite initially making mistakes during the repair process. They remodeled it to use Flamey as its power source. When activated, the vehicle moved at dangerous speeds before being adjusted to function normally. The team prepared to report to their new investigation base, having gained the trust and cooperation of the Welks villagers. Grazia acknowledged the growing acceptance of their presence by the local community, noting that the investigation team could continue building their cooperative relationship. Grazia observed that the 5 team members formed an unusual group. She specifically mentioned Yumia, Ludagawa, and Nina as being somewhat different from the other members, though she didn't elaborate further on what these differences might be. A conversation reveals concerns about Yumia-san being disconnected from those who control Manna. The discussion shifts to someone having a soul problem that Velks can see through their Manna sensing ability. This person appears indifferent to their condition, seemingly accepting it. The conversation explores how humans accumulate memories throughout life, like raindrops filling a cup, eventually becoming the vessel of the soul. The soul issue is compared to a mental injury, possibly from past interference. The person avoids discussing themselves, suggesting personal reasons for their reticence. Regarding Nina-san, she exhibits refined mana flow, indicating skilled control of her mind, possibly from martial arts training. The group discusses mercenary skills, including the ability to fall asleep quickly, highlighting the mysterious nature of their gathering. The conversation turns to Ludger's past, with questions directed to Mr. Earhart. Earhart reveals Ludger was an orphan who survived by selling his memories to a dark merchant using unknown techniques. This practice attracted attention from Ustera knights, who pursue those involved but struggle to catch them as memories get tampered with. The mysterious technique might be related to alchemy. Earhart describes Ludger as clumsy and reluctant to rely on others, suggesting it might help to ask him directly about his situation. Earhart cares for Ludger like a son. Later, Ludger is confronted about his past, initially resistant, but eventually explains how he sold his memories using a jewel that extracted them. During one transaction, something went wrong, and information flowed back into him, burning his mind. Ludger explains the merchant was an underground alchemist who disappeared after Ludger collapsed. Ustera knights were investigating the case. Despite experiencing ongoing headaches and hallucinations, Ludger doesn't blame Alchemist for his condition, accepting responsibility for his choices. The conversation is interrupted by news that Rana has gone missing during a mission, with communications cut off. The group decides to search for Rana, beginning in Welks village to gather information about her last known whereabouts. They learn she was heading south after speaking with Mr. Glazer. To track her, they develop a tool to trace her mana signature, with Flamey taking the lead in the search operation. The mana trace leads to the Nell tribe's village, traditional enemies of Velks. The Nell tribe reveals Rana tried to enter their territory. They set a condition for her passage: bring Alsteria, a flower. The group realizes Rana went alone to fulfill this condition, heading toward Heilmeyer Academy Hill. The search party discusses why Rana attempted to solve the Alsteria situation alone. They're interrupted by something threatening that appears to target alchemists. The group recognizes this as part of a larger threat on the continent and resolves to be more vigilant. Rana later explains she thought she could resolve the conflict between Velks and the Nell tribe by obtaining Alsteria, but learned that accumulated memories make conflicts difficult to resolve. The group discusses the difficulty of being spotted by the Neru tribe before deciding to return to the investigation base to report Rana's safety. Everyone agrees they should take a break, though someone mentions seeing a monster with a large horn similar to Vesper among the Neru tribe. An individual offers to monitor the base while the others rest. Rana explains she joined the investigation team while participating in Welks, following a custom of traveling to help people and atone for ancestral sins. She planned to travel with friends who suggested joining the investigation team as a final opportunity to help others. However, on the meeting day, Rana discovered her companions had left without her. Rana recalls being ostracized and called a witch's daughter. Despite this mistreatment, others invite her to join their group, recognizing her unique abilities, particularly how monsters seem to notice her first. Though initially hesitant, the group insists her presence would be valuable, and the leader has approved her joining the party. The investigation resumes with plans to question the Welks about the monster. Everyone expresses relief at Rana's safety. Clay identifies the monster as Lili Borea, but has limited information, suggesting they seek out someone who has encountered it directly. A Welks member recounts meeting Lili Borea while exploring a gold station. Rather than fighting, Lili Borea warned them to leave if they wanted to live before disappearing. The Welks suggests consulting the Neru tribe for more information, noting their historical differences, but acknowledging the group might succeed where others failed. Upon approaching the Neru tribe, they initially refused to share information about Lili Borea. After negotiation, they agree to help in exchange for technology, specifically an energy generator that would allow them to create secrets similar to Alstaria's. The group offers to build this technology in Erekis village. Revelations emerge about mutants created through alchemy. The Nurs experienced mutations due to mana exposure and gained intelligence naturally, but alchemists exploited this knowledge. By combining monsters with humans using prisoners, they created mutants with enhanced physical abilities, an ethical violation that distresses some group members. A flashback reveals a conversation between a mother and child. The child is upset because others mock them for seeing flying things others cannot perceive. The mother comforts them, explaining that multiple realities can exist simultaneously. The child's ability to see what others cannot is valid, as is others' inability to see these things. The group struggles with conflicted feelings about Lili Borea as an enemy. Despite his attacks, one member has difficulty accepting this reality, questioning if they should continue fighting. The others advise abandoning hesitation, emphasizing their mission as an investigation team requires them to proceed without reluctance. Yumea, an alchemist, shares her perspective on the situation. She acknowledges that fighting is unavoidable to achieve her goals. She realizes she may have underestimated alchemy's power and influence. Yumea understands that Lili Borea's hatred toward alchemy cannot be easily erased, meaning the conflict between Silhouette and Nurs will continue. The team decides to follow Yumia's lead. They receive reports that Lili Borea is at the southern wall. They discuss using an old Daisho Koki from the Nurs and mention a key to the Faltona Observatory where alchemists previously gathered. The observatory reportedly houses confidential documents that might provide important clues. The team prepares to resume their investigation with two options: chase Lili Borea immediately or investigate the observatory first. They express gratitude to Yumia for obtaining crucial information previously. Despite warnings about Lili Borea's dangerous and violent nature, they decide to pursue him using the Daisho Koki. The team encounters danger as they're warned about a strong monster. To their surprise, this monster speaks, introducing himself as Corleonis. He knows about the Aladiss investigation team and admits to watching them since they entered Shibashu. Corleonis states his only goal is to bring back Aladiss. After Corleonis leaves, the team debates whether his appearance was a trap to lure them in, or if he's working with Lili Borea. They note he's been following them for some time, but hasn't attacked, which seems unusual. Despite uncertainty about this mysterious monster's intentions, they decide to press forward. The team proceeds cautiously through an unsettling location that reminds one member of childhood bullying. They express discomfort despite having energy and wish to exit quickly. Soon they encounter Lily Borea, who accuses them of coming to kill him. The team explains they simply want to move forward and understand the truth. They acknowledge knowing about Lily Borea's past, the alchemist's sins, and his anger. Tension rises as Lily Borea refuses to yield, leading to confrontation and internal questioning about whether they've made the right choice. Lily Borea reveals his bitterness toward alchemists, accusing them of selfishly creating and destroying without regard for others. He mentions Corleonis and Basilius, the latter being the last emperor of the Aladissian Empire who died hundreds of years ago. He expresses envy toward those who live ignorantly. With increasing anger, Lily Borea reveals his disfigured body as evidence of alchemy's harm. He claims Basilius promised his body would return to normal, but this never happened. The confrontation is interrupted by Corleonis' return, forcing the team to retreat and clear the Manna area. Yumia reflects on Lily Borea's accusations that alchemists are selfish and uncaring about those they injure. She struggles with these claims, acknowledging she hasn't considered past sacrifices and simply wanted to believe in her mother and alchemy. Her teammates reassure her these accusations aren't her fault. The team discusses the revelations about the mutated Aladiss Emperor and plans to continue their quest despite difficulties. They emphasize the importance of facing the truth rather than turning a blind eye, even when uncomfortable. Yumia reaffirms her commitment to move forward with alchemy. Team members express their growing trust in Yumia, despite initial doubts about alchemy's dangers. They compare alchemy to medicine and weapons, potentially dangerous but not inherently evil. With renewed determination, they decide to continue toward the capital of Aladiss, using aircraft to travel eastward. The team discovers they need to cross to the Aluma region, but face obstacles. They consider using alchemy to create transportation, but realize it's not that convenient. While exploring for crossing options, they encounter a strange tower-like structure, unlike anything seen in Ustera. During their exploration, the team has an interaction with Flamey about emotions. They discover a control device that appears to operate with Manna, but isn't currently functioning. Upon closer examination of the massive structure protruding from a cliff, they realize it's not actually a tower, but a bridge. The investigation team discovers that the bridge wasn't swept away, but standing up. Yumia believes they can move it by temporarily compensating for the power using an energy core mechanism. Flamey agrees to help think of a recipe, despite acknowledging that their technology can't fully replicate the energy core yet. Their effort succeeds, allowing the team to cross to the other side of the cliff and continue their journey toward uncovering the truth of Aradis's destruction. A conversation about Flamey's consciousness begins, with someone explaining that consciousness generally resides in the soul, formed by accumulated mana in the body. However, the discussion is cut short as the speaker admits they're not ready for that knowledge yet. The atmosphere changes dramatically as they establish a temporary base while waiting for their leaders to catch up. An encounter occurs with a scarred individual who laments their ugly body, describing it as a scar left by alchemy. They question their humanity and demand something back. Rutogar appears, suggesting the individual is stuck in the past and makes unreasonable complaints. The scarred person admits they cannot easily erase the scars left in their memory, while Rutogar dismisses their concerns. The team receives information about the development plan for the region. They decide to investigate a prominent location featuring what appears to be blood but is actually metal, identified as Purgatorm. This mysterious tree exists in a high-density mana area. The team notes that all records about Aladiss are vague, suggesting that their discoveries might be documented in future history books. The team encounters actual people, identified as the Jinni clan, who have lived in Aladiss for a long time. Despite initial caution, the Jinni appear friendly and invite the humans to their village for a celebration. Yumia expresses concern about potential rejection, but decides to accept the invitation, and the team follows the Jinni to their settlement. The team arrives at the Jinni clan's magnificent village filled with Manna. They meet Kikiruda, the village ruler. The team introduces themselves as the Aladiss investigation team from Ustera, explaining they're clearing high-density Manna areas to unravel the mystery of a past disaster. The Jinni explain they survive using gifts rather than Alsteria, tools that allow them to function in high-density Manna. The Jinni reveal that their master, Corleonis, gave them these gifts. They explain that they cannot survive in this land without their master's protection. The team members, suspicious of Corleonis, decide to split up and gather more information about the Jinni's culture and their relationship with this master. The team learns that Corleonis, described as the father of the sea, transformed the Jinni from monsters and ordered them to establish a village in the Oluma region. In exchange for remnants that allow entry to Manna domains, Corleonis provides gifts that protect the Jinni from Manna. This arrangement appears to be a system of sacrifice and reward. Rainian reports discovering a place called the Land of Blessing, located in Rams district at Radix Station. The team believes visiting this location might provide clues about Corleonis and possibly about Pespel. They decide to investigate the station, hoping to understand the connection between mutants gathering remnants and uncovering the truth about Aladiss. The team finds numerous remnants of offerings at what appears to be an altar where the Jinni pray to Corleonis. This sacred place further confirms the ritualistic relationship between the Jinni and their master. The team's exploration is cut short as they're reminded to keep quiet in this sacred space. The group is investigating a location where they encounter someone making offerings. When questioned, this person reveals they're fulfilling a promise from their master, mentioning the place is for justice. However, they don't seem to have detailed information about the Shinizoku. With no clear leads on Corleonis' whereabouts or activities, the group decides to return to their base to rest after their lengthy investigation. They agree it might be beneficial to sit down with their friends and discuss their findings thus far. At the base, they observe someone instructing their group while taking a break, noting their remarkable stamina. The conversation turns to Luther's unchanged physical condition, with someone apologizing for not being able to create special medicine to help. Luther dismisses their concern, insisting his condition is none of their business and that he joined only for money. Despite his rejection, the others affirm they consider him a friend, recalling how he defended one of them during an attack on the Lily Borea. The scene shifts to someone considering sleeping on the roof. Others discuss their initial hesitation about joining the mission, but admit their perceptions of the alchemist have changed upon getting to know him, finding him more normal and serious than expected. There's reflection on alchemy's dangerous nature and dark history in the region, balanced against Yumia's positive contributions. Someone expresses appreciation for being part of the group and the comfortable feeling of traveling together, contrasting with the transient nature of mercenary life. A character asks for opinions about themselves and Yumia. The response indicates limited friendships, but enjoyment in conversations with Yumia, Nina, and Renya. When asked about Lutger, they describe him as consistently annoying, but acknowledge he likely has his own beliefs. Yumia discusses their family's possible connection to Aladiss, suggesting their ancestors may have escaped during the Great Earthquake and continued practicing alchemy in Ustera while wanting to leave something behind. A flashback or memory emerges about the limitations of alchemy, with a mother figure explaining that while she can create many things, some creations remain beyond reach, like enabling flight. Instead, she gives a bird-stuffed animal while suggesting future possibilities. The narrative returns to present day, with someone waking from a dream about flying. The group prepares to resume their investigation, still lacking definitive clues about Corleonis. They seek ideas for new investigation sources. Someone suggests investigating the Perglicatorum tree in the center, suggesting it might be connected to alchemy. Despite some skepticism, the group agrees to proceed with this plan in the absence of better alternatives. At the investigation site, they find what appears to be a hidden area with a door that won't open. They suspect it's related to a power outage, like a previously encountered bridge, and discuss restoration possibilities. Yumia volunteers to attempt repairs using previously learned technology, focusing on damaged power lines. They discover the core part is broken and requires special parts unique to this power line. Flamey identifies a transmitter in what appeared to be garbage and plays an audio recording about construction plans and a mineral called stylium. This rare mineral was used in manufacturing Manna-related equipment for power lines. Learning that stylium was mined primarily in Daikudo to the west, the group decides to investigate this location in hopes of finding materials for repairs. At the mining site, they notice unusual mana flow around the stones. Flamey explains that stylium is a rare metal that can distort mana flow, making it valuable for controlling large amounts of mana for power generation. With Flamey's significant contribution, they restore minimum functionality to the system. Yumia suggests further disassembly and improvements, but Flamey advises against it, citing potential risks. Power is restored, allowing them to open the hidden door. Inside, they find a room with various abandoned items that may yield new discoveries. Someone expresses hunger as they prepare to explore further. The group explores an ancient facility containing a transmission device from old civilization. They activate it and scan its contents, finding information about the Mayu project conducted by the Aladissian Empire. The device reveals details about homunculi creation as vessels or artificial life, with mentions of second and third generations. The message references Emperor Basilius and includes imperial propaganda. The team discovers multiple pod-like structures large enough for a person to sleep in. This raises questions about their purpose and connection to someone named Flamey. Tensions rise as Nina accuses the mercenary of hiding something, suggesting she noticed something unusual about certain team members. The confrontation intensifies when Nina questions if the mercenary is an enemy. A mysterious individual appears, speaking cryptically about alchemy and homunculi. This person mistakenly believes the team created homunculi, then abruptly leaves after realizing their error, mentioning something about the first generation being taken away. The team decides to return to their base to discuss everything with their leader. Nina reveals herself to be a homunculus created hundreds of years ago by Marina Frida of the Aladissian Empire. She explains that she was the first generation homunculus, created through secretive human experimentation. Professor Marina rescued her from the research facility, and they escaped westward to the Rignis Research Center, where they briefly found peace. Nina describes how their peaceful life ended when Aladiss fell into turmoil due to conflicts and controversies over human research. A Manna disaster caused rapidly growing trees to engulf their research center. While trying to save the professor, Nina was severely injured and placed in a healing coffin at the bottom of the sea, where she remained for centuries. Upon waking in the present era, Nina was shocked to learn Aladiss had been destroyed centuries ago and alchemy banned. She kept her identity hidden while seeking answers about Aradiss's downfall and the fate of the professor and her friends. This quest led her to join the investigation team, though she claims little knowledge of the second-generation homunculi mentioned by Corleonis. The team struggles with Nina's deception. The leader suggests taking time to process this revelation before deciding Nina's fate. Nina offers information about a commercial area in the eastern Aluma region that might yield clues about the ancient civilization. Despite skepticism from some members, Yumia is assigned to investigate this lead. The conversation begins with Flamey and Yumia discussing next steps. Nina needs to exchange opinions with each person, and Flamey recommends investigating the commercial area. Yumia thanks Nina for accompanying him, and she reminisces about how busy and technologically advanced this place once was with Manna technology. Nina explains that as a doctor, she couldn't get close to crowded places and had to admire the bright Manna technology from afar. She expresses regret about the destruction that occurred and suggests beginning their investigation, believing there might still be information left to discover. They discover a press release from Aladiss about a 20% decrease in homunculus supply. The ministry claimed this was a temporary resource distribution adjustment. Nina suggests this decline was due to Professor Marina's departure, noting that citizens knew little about the professor despite their importance. The professor was entrusted with extensive research beyond homunculus generation, but wasn't doing what they truly wanted. Despite this, the research environment offered surprising freedom, which may have prompted thoughts of escape. They observed tall buildings, a sight uncommon in Ustera. Nina explains these structures required high-grade alchemy, abundant human and material resources. Professor Marina believed alchemy had infinite possibilities, and these buildings symbolized that potential. Most building materials were created through alchemy. Human resources were also augmented through alchemy. With limited citizens and labor power, the Emperor created homunculi and mutants designed to obey orders. When homunculi died, their memories could be recovered as mana, making the system efficient for the Empire. Nina admits she worked on the research side and lacks complete knowledge of operations. The Aladissian Empire prospered and citizens lived peacefully, yet it was destroyed despite not being militarily weak. Nina believes there must have been a decisive internal problem. Yumia reflects on the investigation, agreeing with Dr. Marina that alchemy has infinite possibilities. Understanding requires looking beyond facts to uncover truth and context. Yumia feels uncertain, but believes Nina's story shouldn't end with homunculus revelations. Victor and Ira join them, seeking advice about Nina's feelings. There are conflicting opinions, but Yumia no longer doubts Nina. They discuss how Nina's identity needs protection in this world and acknowledge wanting to understand their relationship with her. The group recognizes that regardless of Nina's true identity, their shared memories and experiences remain valid. Nina has been reliable, particularly when Vesper helped them. They agree that even without forcing consensus, they can move forward together. Alt joins them, seemingly unsurprised about Nina being a homunculus. Alt focuses pragmatically on usefulness rather than identity. They plan to investigate Rignus and what Nina might have been doing there beyond the investigation team's mission. They travel to Nadera, where Nina had stayed after fighting Vesper. Alt believes Nina was secretly doing something there. They encounter a large ancient tree and an unexpected monster in the area where Yumia and Nina had previously parted ways. They determine recent activity in the area and connect it to time spent with professors at Rignos Research Institute. Having found what they needed, they decide to leave. The conversation shifts to Rana, who is making a necklace. They recall discussing Rana's tribal customs, including giving handmade necklaces to friends as proof of facing and accepting unerasable sins. Nina reflects on suddenly losing friends and being thrown into an unfamiliar world, but Rana reassures her she's not alone anymore. The conversation begins with someone acknowledging difficulty in facing uncomfortable truths. They express a desire to send a necklace to Rana's trip and Nina's family. Friends offer support, promising to help make a special necklace that conveys old customs, suggesting they create it while considering Rana's image. The discussion shifts to sewing. Initially, there's mention of fixing Lugger's clothes, but it's revealed they're actually planning to make clothes for Yumia, an alchemist. They discuss designing attire that allows easy movement with sturdy pockets, suitable for alchemy work. Someone shares their childhood experience with sewing, explaining they learned from a friend named Fukuya. They recall being a quiet, noble child until running away from a party. After tearing their clothes, they met someone who offered to fix them, beginning a friendship centered around making clothes together. The person reveals they once dreamed of opening a clothing store with their friend, believing they could create anything. However, that dream was lost, possibly due to a Manna disaster. Despite this loss, they still enjoy making clothes and are grateful for rediscovering this passion. They return to preparing fur for the necklace project. The beautiful creation brings joy with assurance that Nina will appreciate it. The creator decides to gift the necklace, feeling satisfied with helping. The conversation reveals someone has organized their feelings through talking with others and now wishes to speak with Nina. Nina is found, and she's informed that everyone has been thinking sincerely about her feelings and future. Nina apologizes for causing trouble, but is assured that no one considers her a burden. Someone expresses wanting to know more about Nina to better understand their own feelings. Nina reveals she is a homunculus created by a doctor to replace his deceased daughter. She carries the original Nina's recovered memories, but struggles with her identity, unsure if the doctor was truly happy with her creation. She feels disconnected between her implanted memories and lived experiences. After Nina's revelation, Yumia responds by sharing their own experience of keeping secrets. Despite learning Nina's true nature, Yumia's feelings remain unchanged. Nina is still the same kind, mischievous, cute, and reliable friend, regardless of being human or homunculus. Nina expresses her desire to remain with the group. Nina apologizes to everyone for betraying their trust with secret work. Despite feeling unworthy, she wishes to continue investigating with them, offering to share all her information, particularly about the professor, which relates to events in Aladiss. She values their collaborative environment and is prepared to accept their decision. The group welcomes Nina's continued participation. She receives a special necklace made by Yumea and Rana, symbolizing overcoming great difficulty. Nina is moved by this acceptance and prepares to share information about the Rignus Research Center, where she lived with the professor, suggesting they investigate what remains there. They arrive at Nina's former home, now overtaken by trees. The group splits up to search for documents left by Dr. Marina. Yumia uses alchemy to clear a path. They believe important documents would be preserved in transmitter form rather than perishable paper and begin searching through debris. They discover a well-preserved transmitter containing records from Dr. Marina. Just as they celebrate finding this valuable information, they're interrupted by someone who has been following them. This person expresses interest in modern alchemy and claims territorial rights. The confrontation escalates with the intruder identifying themselves as a psychological researcher. A tense confrontation is unfolding where someone refuses to return something important. A woman has apparently fled to a remote location, and there's mention of alchemy being obsolete in modern times. Someone named Perglicatorn reveals himself and demonstrates power involving a tree. The group discusses a persistent adversary who's been interfering with their investigation. They believe he's exploiting their work to locate Dr. Marina and has intentionally revealed his location, possibly setting a trap. Despite potential dangers, they decide they must retrieve Dr. Marina's transmitter as it's a valuable clue. The group expresses determination to find the truth and confront someone in Aladiss. They discuss accessing Perglicatorn's location, which involves climbing a metal tree. They learn this tree didn't exist in the past, and the surrounding terrain has significantly changed due to a large underground collapse. They discover the Perglicatrum area was originally underground, and the tree is actually a central elevator shaft. With Flamey's guidance, they locate a potential entry point to access the elevator system. Despite concerns about its functionality, they decide to proceed with the plan. The group gets separated. Yumia appears to have fallen but survived. A confrontation occurs with someone who refuses to return something they found. Later, Yumia wakes up and learns she's been unconscious for 7 days after falling from a great height into water. Yumia meets with a leader who questions if she can return to the investigation. She's experiencing unusual symptoms, including being out of breath and lacking energy. Someone notices something different about her and asks to examine her hand, detecting something concerning. A startling revelation occurs about Yumia's condition. It's explained that alchemy manipulates mana, which comes from life memories. Yumia apparently fell into a trance and exceeded her limits, causing her to unconsciously consume her own memories when attempting to use mana that wasn't available. Yumia realizes she's forgotten important memories about her mother. Her face and their conversations are gone. It's explained that these memories were consumed as mana and cannot be recovered, like spilled honey that can't be collected again. The group decides to return to their atelier to consider what to do next. The conversation begins with information about Flamey's creator, Yumia Liessfeldt, who is described as cheerful and optimistic despite never smiling. Yumia enjoyed making things, including craftwork and cooking, although her family didn't appreciate her culinary skills. She was also an alchemist. The dialogue reveals that Yumia is someone's mother, which seems to be significant information to the characters. Flamey indicates there's a lack of information and offers to provide more details about Yumia. The conversation becomes tense as someone suggests finding a solution through alchemy. There's a sense of existential uncertainty as a character expresses fear of losing everything and not knowing their purpose. The boss calls Yumia and surprisingly gives them a break for a few days, despite Yumia's protests about having much to solve. The investigation is temporarily suspended, and there's mention that they've never played together before. The next morning, Yumia encounters Victor, who has been running. Victor shares his strange experience of remembering talking about his past, but feeling disconnected from those memories, as if listening to someone else's experiences. Victor emphasizes that their shared memories are properly engraved and offers support. A conversation about memories continues, with someone noting that even without memories, a person remains fundamentally themselves. The dialogue suggests that despite memory loss, not everything is lost, and new things can be learned. Yumia meets Rainion and Nina, who are going to get ingredients. Yumia looks for Ira, who apparently went back to the atelier. Later, it's revealed that Ira had encouraged Rutoger and Victor to say something supportive to Yumia. Yumia decides to see the boss to discuss their thoughts. After reflection, Yumia has reached an understanding that alchemy itself is neither right nor wrong. Its nature depends on who uses it. They express a desire to unravel the truth, accept the memories of sin and tragedy, and move forward. The investigation resumes as they prepare to return to the front line. They plan to return to Oryuma's research base, determined to defeat an enemy. The group needs to reorganize and discuss what they've been through. They've encountered dangerous mutants multiple times: Vesper, Lilivolion, and Corleonis. During the battle with Corleonis, a man appeared who is likely Emperor Basilius, the last emperor of Aladiss, somehow still alive hundreds of years after Aladiss was destroyed. The emperor appears to be orchestrating something significant behind the scenes. The group resolves to stop the emperor's plan to avoid repeating alchemy's past sins. They strategize about confronting Corleonis, discussing how to break through an ice wall that previously hindered them. They plan to create a special bullet using a stone that distorts mana flow, concentrating power at one point. The group prepares to move forward, climbing carefully through unstable rubble. There's a sense of urgency not to fall behind anymore. Someone remarks on the exceptional talent still present in the modern world. A confrontation occurs between characters. One invites another to join them, but is refused. The refuser states they'll find the truth themselves. The first character expresses disappointment, calling modern alchemy foolish, and threatens to use the other's body as experimental material. A demonstration of alchemical power occurs. One character mentions the remnants of desire plan from Manna alchemy. They explain their intention to resurrect Aladiss, claiming alchemy can bring back life if memories exist. The other disagrees, stating what's lost never returns. Basilius is revealed as the last emperor of Aladiss. Someone questions if Basilius is attempting to atone for sins by creating new ones. The group decides to clear the Manna domain and search for Dr. Marina's stolen transmission machine. They recover an important device connecting someone to their professor. Before checking its contents, they decide to explore more. They discover a bottle of Zankyo, apparently collected by Corleones with help from Ginny and Laterre, part of a plan to revive Aradis's people. They find research documents about a transmitter describing failed experiments from 1103. The device was designed to preserve all knowledge from Aladiss, potentially allowing infinite power through alchemy. The records reveal Aladiss was originally a poor country exploited by others, explaining their obsession with immortality. They recover and play a partial audio recording from Dr. Marina, but crucial information about a base's location is missing. They deduce the research materials must be stored somewhere protected outside the Manna area's influence. Someone named Akazuma interrupts them. The group hurries to an atelier previously used by Dr. Marina, where the transceiver itself unlocks a door, revealing numerous well-preserved documents and a new transceiver. They play a recording describing an investigation 382 days after the Manna disaster. It reveals unnatural Manna waves around government-controlled transceivers just before the disaster, suggesting intentional disruption from within, though the purpose remains unknown. The recording continues with a personal message to someone named Kas. Dr. Marina confesses creating them to revive Nina, their daughter, but realized it was wrong. They apologize for forcing their feelings and encourage Kas to live their own life, make friends, fall in love, and find happiness. The group decides to leave Dr. Marina's data to an investigation team. Nina agrees, saying she's seen what she needed to see. They determine to continue investigating Aladiss and stop Basilius's resurrection plan, concluding that recreating something broken yields something different from the original. Reflecting on loss and determination, the protagonist expresses their desire to accept what's gone and move forward. They want to discover the truth about alchemy, understand why Aladiss was destroyed, and stop Basilius's plan, not because it's their mission, but because they believe it's right. The group decides to investigate the capital first, heading east of the Aluma region to the Lacuna region, the last of Aladiss's 4 regions. Upon arrival, the group discovers a barren landscape where buildings and plants have mysteriously vanished. They wonder if all clues about the capital are gone, but decide to investigate further. As they explore, Renya and Yumea sense a large amount of mana swirling ahead. Though the area appears to be just a vast meadow, they discover an invisible wall with a crack leading to the other side. Passing through the crack, they discover Kalmuna, the real capital of Aladiss, surprisingly beautiful and intact. They speculate that Basilius rebuilt it using alchemy after the Great Disaster. As Nina notes, the city looks different from her memories. This may be part of Basilius's plan to get Aladiss back. The group decides to establish a research base and proceed carefully, aware that the capital might be Basilius's main base. The investigation of Lacuna region begins, with Yumea taking charge of the development plan. They identified 2 key locations to explore: Lacuna Castle, the Emperor's residence, and the Imperial First Research Institute, where Nina was born. They decide to investigate the institute first, located in the center of the city, believing it holds secrets about alchemy research. At the heavily defended Imperial First Research Institute, they discover the facility is powered by mana flowing from 3 towers located in different sections of Kalmuna: imperial, political, and commercial. They theorize that controlling these 3 power sources might allow them to open the institute's gate. The team decides to investigate the towers while remaining cautious of possible traps. Upon reaching one tower, Yumea attempts to control the mana flow, but fails. They realize Manna is flowing to locations beyond the lab and decide to follow this flow to discover potential secrets. The conversation shifts to their future plans after this journey ends, with some expressing a desire to return home to their families while continuing to pursue their current mission. The group follows the Manna flow along a road, proceeding cautiously. They encounter a situation requiring careful handling, with Ruto warned about a ball. The team prepares for confrontation, with someone activating a burst set ability, though the outcome remains unclear as they continue their investigation. The initial scene depicts an intense confrontation with rapid exchanges of urgent phrases. Someone demands more, while another warns others to get out of the way. There are references to guns and speed limitations, creating an atmosphere of chaos and urgency. The situation appears desperate, with questions about whether this is the end. A tense conversation unfolds regarding Corleone being shot. When confronted about taking revenge, the response is dismissive. There is discussion about reciprocating actions, with one party attempting to stop the other. The dynamic has changed from before, with revelations about someone being a mutant and discoveries about what occurred in Aladiss. Questions arise about territorial attacks and fighting for Aladiss. The mutant explains their mission is to revive dead comrades who sleep on this land, all to realize the world their leader dreams of. They emphasize this is their power and purpose. The mutant claims victory and expresses frustration that others will never understand. The mutant criticizes others born under alchemy as having talent but being powerless and worthless. They explain the mutant experiment gave them strength to prove their worth, asserting defeat and failure are unforgivable. In response, someone declares their era is over and the present belongs to those living now, suggesting the remains of the past should rest peacefully. The confrontation escalates with preparation for battle and intentions to defeat one another. The time to settle matters approaches. There is mention of reviving comrades, described as a dream. Alchemy is described as something that shows dreams, prompting reflection on making proper choices and treating alchemy appropriately. Someone apologizes to everyone and requests to look around before beginning an investigation, expressing desire to learn about the people sleeping there. Permission is granted, and they proceed. Suddenly, there is concern about energy levels, with mention of a broken energy core, an abnormally high energy concentration in the surrounding area. The group retreats from the area with unusually high mana concentration. They experience relief from headaches, though still feel somewhat dizzy. They identify the location as a super high concentration mana domain and a mana supply place where mana is overflowing due to control issues. They cannot risk entering and must seek another solution. There is a moment of relaxation. Someone named Nino recognizes the scenery, recalling a market that used to exist there. Nina mentions her first house should be nearby, where she briefly lived with a professor before being chased out of the country. The group decides to investigate, hoping to find something useful. Nina identifies what should be her first house, but notes it looks different than expected. They observe houses throughout the area and discuss Basilius repairing Aladiss, though the restoration appears incomplete. They notice a theater built by the Empire that seems larger than it once was, suggesting further investigation might reveal connections to Basilius. Finding nothing left at Nina's former house, they proceed to examine a door that appears to be under construction rather than broken. The mana is described as messed up and solidified, suggesting it is being repaired with alchemy. Despite uncertainty about how to address the issue at this size, they attempt to scan it. The speaker realizes they cannot progress by hiding in someone's shadow or avoiding their weaknesses and mistakes. They express gratitude to Yumia-san for previous help and declare their intention to become the person they want to be. There's a bittersweet acknowledgement that the once following cute Rana is no longer there. The group returns to their investigation after a moment of reflection about Vesper and Aladiss. They discover an unusual flow of mana that appears forced, continuing toward the back of the area. They decide to investigate further, though someone expresses reluctance to visit the grave area, citing concerns beyond just monsters. One member of the group appears tired and somewhat dull, though they insist they still have energy to continue. The investigation leads them to another grave site, which is notably substantial, likely because it contains higher-ranking individuals. Someone mentions that graves represent souls returned to the ground. The group discusses how the Aladissian Empire flourished with Manna, which likely influenced their cultural practices. They identify a grave marked Basilius, confirmed to be the last emperor of Aladiss. This connects to a skinny man they saw earlier, who resembled a portrait of Basilius, raising questions about how he could have survived to the present time. Upon closer inspection, they discover the grave has a thin crack. Victor helps pull it open, revealing a hidden passage. The flow of mana continues into this hidden area, and despite some hesitation about a strange power being felt, the group decides to press forward with their investigation. Someone remarks that it's an unpleasant place. The group discovers a statue of the emperor, which they speculate was created by the people rather than by the emperor himself. The emperor apparently was more interested in the country's prosperity than maintaining power. The investigation continues deeper, where they find evidence of alchemy being used to repair the building on an impressive scale. After pushing something, they feel a significant movement or swing, prompting them to continue forward despite their apprehension, acknowledging their responsibility as an investigation team. A confrontation develops regarding Basilius. Someone points out that Basilius is only concerned with Aradiss's glory and wouldn't waste time on personal problems. There's a tense exchange about restoring someone's body, with an admission that the technology to do so doesn't exist. One character admits to previously ignoring the sins of Aladiss and an individual wanting to believe alchemy was good. Now they've decided to live as an alchemist who won't turn a blind eye to past mistakes. Despite this declaration, another person refuses to forgive alchemists, suggesting an inevitable conflict between them. The group discovers technology related to an energy core that appears more efficient than what they currently use. They mention returning to a mana control tower in a commercial area to potentially solve a problem using energy left behind, though they find the energy source has been completely depleted. Investigators are discussing a crime in Aladiss where direct memory serves as more convincing proof than confession. They've discovered a lead on criminals from that time, mentioning the Aladiss weekend and alchemists who may have been rebellious following Dr. Marina's actions. Evidence suggests Aladiss was experiencing abnormalities before its extinction. The investigators learned that a suspect was in the psych ward located south of their position. This facility was where people were judged, and they hoped to find clues about someone who used a back door. They examined various materials, including an old drawing of a defendant that contained a code. The team discusses an interrogation of someone who used a back door. The suspect likely had their memory stripped after questioning, or possibly faced a more tragic fate like Lily Vorea. Despite going against the country, the suspect left behind valuable memory that could serve as clues. The team discovers a clue about something called Kenja and returns to the court to investigate. They identify a human-shaped stone statue with a cane as Kenja. Upon examination, they notice a section of wall that appears thinner than others, which turns out to be a hidden door. After opening the hidden door, they discover an underground passageway that seems to predate the destruction of Aladiss. The passage differs from buildings outside and might suggest other hidden areas exist. They decide to move on as the atmosphere feels more dense than the Shibashu region. The team reaches a control tower that appears to manage mana. Upon investigation, they sense a strange power. They successfully gain control of the tower and conclude their investigation of the Holy Sphere. They speculate that Aladiss was accumulating dissatisfaction throughout the country during this period. The investigators believe that by collecting and connecting clues, they might eventually discover what caused Aladiss's destruction. Having gained control of 3 islands, they decide to return to base before heading to the central laboratory. They acknowledge they might not be able to return easily once they proceed. Back at base, they report their progress to Ruto-san. A conversation begins about future plans after the investigation concludes. One investigator wants to visit their mother's grave and use the technology they've discovered. Another, a knight, awaits commander's instructions while wanting to help rebuild Duralian. Team members continue sharing future plans. One wishes to serve as a bridge between the Blue Mage clan and information about Aladiss and the Sylvan clan. Another named Nina hopes to return to mercenary work after receiving instructions. Despite going separate ways after the mission, they acknowledge their shared experiences won't disappear. The team prepares to explore the center of Aladiss. Upon arrival, they reflect on the technology and mistakes that originated there. To reach the circulation machine at the top of the building, they need to collect 3 keys from within the laboratory. They discover what appears to be a laboratory for alchemy related to matter. A group has obtained control authority from a box-shaped device in an unnatural space where only Manna-operated functions are connected. They discuss how their opponent appears to be short on time, otherwise they would have created a larger army of mutants. The team has acquired the first of 3 control rights and is now heading to the lab to find the remaining 2. They encounter dangerous monsters in the laboratory, which they speculate are connected to life form research previously conducted there. Flamey recognizes the laboratory as a place where homunculus and mutant research occurred. The team discovers the second control right, but finds no specific research records or information about mutants who are created based on humans like Didi Borea. With 2 control rights secured, the team proceeds to find the third. The environment is unstable and broken in places, making it difficult to access memories. They successfully extract something important before encountering royalty. A memory reveals a conversation between Emperor Basilius and researchers developing memory compression technology. The project is 90% complete, with manufacturing of transfer machines beginning soon. Basilius insists on collecting all technology and knowledge of Aladiss, refusing to give up any information. Basilius reveals his ambitious plan to recover memories of the dead and revive them using homunculi as vessels. The team successfully obtains the third control right and concludes this place was a research lab focused on mana and memories. The group connects this research to the Dream of Pursuit plan and the Moon Cruise project from the Aluma region. They realize that current Kalmuna was restored based on Basilius memories, explaining why certain locations like theaters are better preserved than others. The team criticizes Basilius for selfishly reviving only what he desires while disregarding the actual people. They determine to stop him and return to the central device now that control power has been restored. The group feels the dangerous effects of the area as they experience headaches and sense strange power beyond mana. After activating something, they encounter Vesper, who engages them in battle to protect His Majesty. After defeating Vesper, the team discovers Racuna Castle, the Aladiss Emperor residence that had been hidden behind walls. They resolve to enter and confront Basilius despite the ominous atmosphere and dirty mana swirling around the castle. Inside the castle, they find a device for making transmitters with signs of recent use. Flamey scans an election report revealing the Aladissian Empire was facing war against allied forces 10 times their size, prompting desperate measures. The report details a plan to manufacture transmitters that would collect and extract memories from all citizens of the Empire, using circulators distributed throughout Aladiss. This connects to Dr. Marina's survey findings about unnatural mana fluctuations around transmitters just before the Manna disaster. The group discusses how the government's preparations for Aladiss were insufficient. They contemplate whether Aladiss is dead, with Corleonis having mentioned that only food can revive it. There's an acknowledgement that they've been turning a blind eye to the crisis and need to face Aradiss's history directly. They decide to find Basilius to resolve the situation, believing nothing can progress without confronting him. The group discovers a storage room for bodies, realizing Basilius is a homunculus who has survived by transferring his memories into new vessels. They debate whether this entity is truly Basilius, concluding that inherited memories don't make someone the same person. The discussion reveals that Basilius is driven purely by ambition, described as a grudge or ghost of his former self. After navigating through dangerous areas, the group senses Basilius's presence through the massive amount of mana swirling around them. They determine he's waiting at the back of the castle. Despite concerns about a potential trap, they conclude that Basilius wants to settle matters here, and they prepare for the confrontation. Yumia reveals she's lost her mother's memory, but retained knowledge of alchemy, acknowledging it as a forbidden art. The group discovers that Aladiss had real alchemy with both positive and painful aspects that people preferred to ignore. They discuss how accumulated memories perpetuate conflict while still recognizing the value of alchemy and its ability to teach new things. The confrontation with Basilius begins. He believes in alchemy's endless possibilities and claims he is Aladiss itself, determined to restore everything to his idealized version. The group challenges him, pointing out that his desires are self-centered and don't consider what people actually want. They vow to stop him from committing further sins through misuse of alchemy. The investigation mission in Racuna concludes with the defeat of Basilius. While the mystery of the sleeping in Aladiss remains, the team successfully eliminated high-density areas and crushed Basilius's secret plan. Some units will stay to continue investigations, while others return to report their findings. The group discusses the future understanding of alchemy, hoping correct knowledge will spread. The team discovers a telegraph left by Basilius, which contains valuable but dangerous information. After consideration, Yumia decides to destroy it, recognizing that such powerful knowledge could lead to dangerous misapplications of alchemy. The group acknowledges alchemy's infinite possibilities depend on proper management and hopes for a future where everyone can safely benefit from it. As the group prepares to depart, they gather their belongings and encourage each other to move forward. They recognize the decisions they've made were right, looking toward their next steps with determination and renewed purpose. Despite the challenges they've faced, they remain optimistic about the future and their ongoing journey.